Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today on Let's Learn Together. I am your host, Kingmaker. Today I have 16 Bits team manager Bonsai. I'm going to let him introduce himself real quick before we hop into today's episode.
Yeah, I'm the assistant team manager
Thank you.
for 16-bit. Credit where credit is due. Um, and I've been playing Wild Rift since season one. And I'm a support main that peaked Diamond 4. But I spend a lot of time playing with high elo players, and of course, being a part of an esports organization, you get to know a little bit more about the game. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
Yep, sorry about that. Bar just yelling at me right now if he sees this. Uh, but today we're going to be watching somebody who's a returning user. His name's Bukran, and he's going to be playing Pantheon. Barjabita and I actually recorded one episode previously through Zoom. Unfortunately, the
Okay.
quality was not that good, so we're going to look at another game of his. He's up against a Kale. What do you know about this matchup?
So for this matchup, Pantheon beats Kale early, super hard, pre-level 10. Pantheon just can deal a lot more damage, and he can just jump on top of Kale pre-level 5 and shut her down. She does have her ult after level 5, so at that point, it's really just a matter of whether or not this Kale can outplay. But Pantheon early game can clear faster. He deals more damage, and he after pretty much after level 3, he can be very aggressive in trying to stop her from farming. So
This one's going to be
usually
interesting. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
what I was thinking is, in lane,
Hmm.
Pantheon's definitely going to have the advantage just being able to jump on her. Do you think being in jungle it's going to give Kale enough time to scale up before Pantheon can shut her down?
Depends on the pathing. So if you and what I mean by pathing is right, like is the route that you're taking. So usually everybody starts red, and then they go Raptors, and then they either go blue and then scuttle, or they some depending you might get weird, and then they go top scuttle, so they go red Raptors, and then opposite side scuttle, or some people will turn around and do the closest scuttle to them. So if you meet Kale within those first scuttles,
Mm,
you depending on whether or not your lanes are pushed up, and of course you can ping to get one of your teammates to rotate, you guys can shut her down uh, by then, because usually by the time you hit first scuttle, you're either just about to hit level 5 or you haven't hit level 5 yet. Usually right around level 4, level 5.
that's
So
a really good point. It's going to come down to those neutral objectives. I did not think about that. I guess with that being said, let's get into today's game. Let's go ahead and move this forward so it loads a little bit quicker. Okay, too far. So looks like he's going to go for potentially a blue start with
okay.
the longsword. What I really like doing is I like coming up here, dropping a ward in this blue brush, and then starting red side, going back and
Yeah,
buying a sweeper. Okay, cool. Looks like he's going
that's
to do
exactly what
that.
he's doing. Yeah.
I've noticed for someone who's in platinum, he does use his vision or like minimap vision a lot. Okay, not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, for a solo queue jungler, like you always want to assume that the enemy can see you or know where you are. Um, that mechanic of dropping blue and then or dropping your blue side ward and then immediately switching to sweeper is a great tactic to gain that early level comfort of being able to move around in the jungle, because a lot of solo queue players, and this is something that I learned recently, is that they use their wards a lot, but they don't use them uh, in a smart manner. So usually everybody before level 5 is like before the first objective is just dropping wards like crazy, but
Hmm.
you're not going to see a lot of people using sweeper. So as a jungler in this elo, being able to move in with your sweeper, it'll help you gain an advantage.
I'm
So
really
this is
glad. Oh,
good.
sorry.
I took his red, took his raptors, takes his blue, and then he's going to take his scuttle here. So he has really good timing.
Yep. I think he's probably looking at matching Kale's. Yeah, Kale's clear. I'm glad that he's kiting the mob back. It looks a lot better than last time he was on. So it's that little half second you get to the camp next can make a world of difference.
So here I would have just finished taking that scuttle. You're
Yep.
letting the scuttle reset, and it's going to take away time from. See, you have to go back and you have to reset the scuttle just because he thought he could get a kill. Your you have to look at what your champion is doing. So, uh, what is the highest kill potential for Pantheon? His level 3 and then his level 5. So his level 3, you have the stun. Now that's something that you would look at in lane, but as a jungler, you want to get to that level 5 as soon as possible so that you can start taking advantage of your global ult.
This
So
is
here he's
interesting.
trying to get the attention of the mid laner, and he overstepped.
Yep.
So yeah, throws his spear out, lets him know he's there, he's coming down. And then see, so pause right here
All right.
if you can.
You want me to run it
So
back?
this is what I was talking about is that uh, again speaking to the fact that because he let go of that scuttle and he let that scuttle reset, he could have potentially met Kale down here on the blue side on the dragon side scuttle to get that potential first blood and make it harder for her.
Yeah. I thought so when I first viewed his verse VOD, there was a lot of indecisiveness, and that happens right because in the jungle role, no game's ever going to be the same. It's not going to be farm it out until the tower's destroyed.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of pivoting. He's made less pivoting so far in this match, which shows a big improvement on what he wants to do. I think maybe he might have stood in that brush a little bit too long, especially without having a mid laner there. If
Mm-hmm.
Oriana would have been there, definitely flash in, pull that trigger, and blow the flash on the Yasuo. Um, but unfortunately, Oriana wasn't there, so we kind of wasted a little bit of time, but that's okay because the game's looking better. He's utilizing his minimap more to look at vision around there. Um, but like you said, if I definitely agree with you, I would have definitely stayed on that scuttle crab as well.
Start it again.
Yep.
Yeah. So now dragon side is resetting. So they probably got poked down. Don't know where Diana is. Jarvan's just free pushing that turret.
Yep. Yep.
So there you go. Oh, and there's Kale. That was good timing on his part. A little overextended there, I think, on the ult, but you were able to make up for it here. It looks like. Oh, he flashed. Wow.
Yeah. He flashed over the wall to jump on him, and then the Yasuo flashed over the other side of the wall.
Yeah. So with Pantheon's ult, um, you do want to be able to anticipate, right, when you're dropping in
Yep.
where there might potentially be going. Um, but in like elo like this, like if you just drop it either on top of them or slightly in front of them
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to anticipate where they're going to go, you have a higher likelihood of being able to close the gap and not have to burn a summoner to land your stun. You shouldn't, the only time that you should be flashing in like that to get the kill is if you're like 100% sure that you're going to be able to kill that son of a bitch. But
Yep.
if you really should be able to close that gap immediately after dropping in by using that your jump stun.
I agree. It was a little bit far off, but you never know if they. He probably thought they were going to kite back a little bit farther. The reason I
It's
paused it
true.
here is look at the mini map. What's coming up in 3 seconds? We don't have any vision down, any control. We've got
Yeah,
items that we need to buy. We're at half health, and this is something that you pointed out a lot when we were doing scrims. Is what I cannot remember what time you wanted vision down before on Dragon or Herald before. Was it a minute?
so usually you want to start thinking about it 2 minutes before. So at 4 minutes, right, both objectives spawn. At around 3 minutes, the icon pops up. That's your indicator that you need to start thinking about doing it. Now, for a jungler, uh, what I would recommend is when you clear uh, when you clear scuttle, you're gaining vision on one side of the map, and then you can either keep sweeping and farming and do what he's about to do right now,
Mm-hmm.
which is clear the camp and then immediately start looking for picks before the objective comes up, and then switch out from like because he's gonna recall as soon as he kills this Gromp, I'm assuming. At that point, I would then switch to ward and then come down and start gaining your vision. His timing isn't terrible, but a higher elo jungler at this point would already be ready and take advantage of the fact that um, Pantheon isn't there. If he was going up against like a Kha'Zix or even like a Olaf or something like that, a super heavy attack damage, they would be able to steal that crab without anybody noticing right now. Steal the Rift Herald, without anybody noticing.
Gotcha. The reason I went back is I want to show you the exact moment I'm going back. So we come here. Unfortunately, this play goes wrong. It was a really good play, really good opportunity. We almost killed him. If I can't pick up the kill, I'm probably looking at going back
Yeah,
right around here. As soon as this
yeah.
plays immediately over, because we got 39 seconds or 29 seconds, which is so close. We almost pick up the kill, but we're out of kill. They're out of kill
In
range.
that
Go back
in that
immediately.
in that instance right there, he he almost got a double kill
Yes.
because the Oriana went back, realized what was happening, went back to grab fruit, walked up to help him with the kill, but because all his cooldowns were up or were down, uh, he couldn't. He probably thought, "Oh, this is all that I have to do." But the best thing about Pantheon early on is the scaling attack damage that he has. So you advantage there. I would have continued to be aggressive there because again, you're seeing the advantage that he has over a Kale
Mm-hmm.
uh, at level 5. You see how quickly that Kale got burned down and had to back up. Kale's always going to fight you at range, so a
Mm-hmm.
close up champion like Pantheon will just shred her down early game.
Let me ask, because he's got smite up here. Do you think that smite would have made enough difference to be able to close that
Yep.
gap? And yep,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking too.
I would have smited. If that was me in lane, I would have ignited, or I would have continued to fight. Pantheon's really tanky, and right here, you see his stun is about to come up.
Yep.
So what would have happened is he would have kept fighting them. They would have kept kiting back up to the turret,
Mm-hmm.
and then your stun would have reset, and then you would have been able to jump on them. And Oriana would have just been auto attacking behind you.
Okay.
But at the same time, I agree with what you're saying, where uh, because the fight uh, didn't fully commit and the fight didn't fully get you anything, I would have recalled right here. You've got
Items.
1,500 gold.
Yep.
You can go buy an item and then start looking to gank other lanes.
Yep. Or look, I mean, with the if anybody can't see it, let's take a screenshot real quick. I'm assuming Diane is AFK because this tower is almost dead.
Yep.
So when we
So
start
I would either
looking,
start looking at ganking other lanes, or you recall here and you start exactly. You start getting
yep,
ready for that
because that
10 seconds that you have left to get ready for dragon.
yep, that's gonna be free because this is gone. So we're assuming top laner is not here.
Yep.
At that point, if we can get this for free, we're definitely gonna contest here, because
Yeah.
Jarvan can roam down with you, assuming he does in a plat game. But it'll be 4v3 if anybody, or 4v5 if anybody contests. So
Yeah, if I was that Jarvan, I would either take the Rift Herald by myself while they're doing dragon, or come down and help them with dragon.
oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, you could definitely have your top laner solo that Rift Herald, especially since he's fully healthy.
So here's the big mistake right here. You're continuing to farm because you're trying really hard to complete that first item, but you don't have any vision on your objectives.
Yep. That's luckily Oriana started pinging up there. I definitely would have been back. Just because your resources, your health and mana resources are very valuable, and you definitely need to get back and replenish those and get vision on uh, everything. Really. Oh, there's Diana.
So a lot of this is it goes into those game time decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see that all those kills that just happened down there, that was because Kale was trying to do what Pantheon isn't doing right now, is gain picks, gain prio in lanes so that they can then go uh, to the dragon, to the objective.
Yep. And at this point, I'd say that's probably priority number one, just mainly because the tower's down. You can Herald's a lot easier to clear by yourself, and the first tower's down, so you're not going to get the bonus gold for that. So I would say definitely prioritize Dragon. I'm not sure about this ultimate. How do you feel about this ultimate in onto three people without anybody around?
So he doesn't completely have anybody around, but the timing was a little reactive.
Mm,
So he's recalling, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, all these people are fighting. Some of my teammates are dying. They have it. Luckily, Akshan was able to bring somebody back to life, but Oriana's sitting under a turret.
yep.
Jarvan is on his way down, so I could see why you would want to jump in here. And but it's a very risky move, very risky. You see, he almost died, but
Yep.
it worked out. It worked out because I definitely see what he saw was that the Jarvan took tower, and the Jarvan was then making his way down. Oriana was being patient to let them move forward on her under turret, and then he was able to jump in and get those kills.
Yep. And he's spam pinging too. That's something that I
Yeah,
really wanted him to do. You got to
yeah.
break people's tunnel vision.
These like you're definitely going to run into situations where, as a jungler, your lanes are just they're dying or they're not doing good, or everybody has those games where like, oh, this guy trolled me, whatever the case may be. You still have four other people on your team. These are actual people that are playing the game. So if you're spamming those pings, something's going to happen. Either they're going to uh, ping retreat, or they're going to see that you're pinging and they're going to be like, oh, I'm ready to go in. This Pantheon, it's so obvious that this Pantheon is about to jump in here. Maybe I should help him out.
Yes.
So here he's trying to come around
He gets
to
spotted.
apply a little pressure on the side lane. There's a little issue with positioning there out of the bush. They see him,
Guys, it jumped
and then he
away
gets
over
caught.
the other side.
He flashed out. Still, yeah, reset here. Yep.
Yep. There's nothing we can do. This fight is already
Let your
lost.
teammates fight it out. Let them do whatever they need to do.
It is solo queue. Speaking of pinging and people reacting to it, did you know that AI will react to your pinging?
Yep.
I had no idea. That's
That's why
something.
I always tell people that if somebody leaves the game, just put the bot in. And people are like, "No, the bot sucks. The bot sucks." And number one, it's It's better than not having anyone. Number two, the bots really aren't that bad, depending on how the champ is, or like how strong they actually are.
Yep.
The bot will continue to farm. It will continue to attack champions, engage on them. Um, it's really not the worst thing in the world.
Um, so for me, what I would definitely go down there and get this. It's going to give you all the information that you need if anybody goes up and down the river. Um, you have three people here, and I'm going to tell them to come here if you don't go get this. If you're going to give this up, you need to come get this while all three people are there. In my opinion, um, that's what
So
I do.
here, yeah, so here, I think they're making the right play moving towards the Rift Herald because you also have to look at Kale's behind. Kale's about 4 seconds behind,
Yep.
and
Oh, she's good. Yep.
these guys are about 4 seconds away from being able to start that rift. We don't have vision of anybody else on the map, so we want to assume that they are either at the rift or they are making their way towards the rift, and that's exactly where we need to go as well.
Yep. Yep.
Pantheon's really strong right now too, with the kills that he got,
Yep.
and if the Kale is building properly, Pantheon now is able to have full advantage of fighting that Kale.
Yeah, and that's something that we noticed. Is Kale, you shut her down so early that you want to tilt that player out of the game, um,
Hmm.
or else that champion's just going to scale into a late game monster.
One good tip as a jungler. So see here, when he backed, always switch out your wards. You had a vision ward ready
Mm,
when you backed, but you didn't take it. Now, yes, you're gonna sweep, but again, that fight that happened earlier forced them to reset. I would have gained vision here before starting your blue, so he used the sweeper to check and see where they were at. Jarvan's pinging that he's on his way to start the rift. Oriana's moving in,
I
and the
probably would have
team.
started it as soon as he swept it.
Oh yeah, I would have started it as soon as I had the blue and swept, but it may be that he was waiting for the rest of his team to see what they were going to do. So there a little patience on his part when it wasn't the worst thing here.
Gotcha. Okay. I just saw Kale pop up on the mini map on bot side.
And again, this is all perspective. Like you're going to see it differently than I'm going to see it.
Hmm.
So I mean, any information is helpful.
Absolutely. That's
So I'm
that's why
trying to see the
it's
map here.
important to do VOD reviews.
So this is good. You're applying pressure in all three lanes. Kale is trying to take that bottom turret for some reason.
That's a great
Uh,
ult right there.
yeah, this is a good ult timing right here. They're overextended. You got the Leona stun. A little focusing the Kale to force that ult out. Okay.
I think he
Then you
wins
get
this.
the.
Oh
I
man.
would be surprised if he won this. Yeah.
I thought he would win it.
Let's so rewind it back
Yeah.
for that fight.
You want me to go all the way back?
Go to the part where he's about to land in after Leona landed the stun.
Okay. Kaisa first.
I would have. I think it was smart to force the Kale ult so that Kale ults herself, and then he did turn around for Kaisa. Unfortunately, that's what I wanted to see who he turned around on next. So unfortunately, his teammates just died
Yeah.
trying to help him. That Yasuo isn't half bad, but Jarvan here is. I
Doing
mean,
what he can.
he did the right thing. So jumping in on that engage was the right thing, even though it didn't work out. It ended up panning out. Akshan kills them, brings some people back to life. But you're applying pressure so that Jarvan can continue to just free push. Unfortunately, that Diana was AFK for the other team. So
Yep. The good news is we're definitely pinging Dragon. We're making sure we're staying hyper focused on objectives.
yeah,
Hopefully.
his positioning on when he should be on what side of the map, um, I would say it's like 80% there.
Yep, I agree. This,
Because in
yeah,
in those minutes leading up to Dragon, um, you want to be on that side of the map. As you get into higher elo, uh, junglers are going to be on the dragon side of the map when it's either when it's spawned or when it's getting close to spawn. I was looking at some. I was listening to that Attack on Baron or Attack Baron podcast,
yep,
and they were talking about some stats for Horizon Cup, and of course that's Horizon Cup versus solo queue. But 70% of teams that took first dragon won the series.
yes,
60% of people had a chance of winning when they took Rift Herald first. So that kind of information is useful for right for this because knowing which objective is going to take priority over the other one and also knowing that information is okay, so if statistically we have a higher chance of winning the game if I take first dragon, then I need to be on that side of the map at 4 minutes. In this scenario too, with having a Leona and an Akshan in the bottom lane,
hmm
uh, that Leona is super high kill potential for a Pantheon jumping in to gank them at level 5 right before the dragon or at dragon.
absolutely.
Because between Leona and Pantheon, you have 4 stuns, I believe.
One, two, three, plus a disable from her Zenith Blade.
Yep.
Yep. So I've drawn on the screen. We see on the minimap that four people are definitely top lane, and that means it's
Yeah.
100% free dragon. Hopefully Oriana stays on mid lane while you three take dragon for free. Um, do you think that's the correct call in this point?
100%. So what Jarvan is doing is amazing here. He's continuing to just show and apply pressure up there when the
Yep.
objective is up because he realizes that the rest of his team is down there. I would have done the exact same thing. I see that Pantheon is pretty strong. Uh, Kale is has the disadvantage in this matchup, uh, and I'm just free pushing. So they're either going to have to come up or they're going to lose an inhib drag or an inhib for second dragon, which is never ever a good trade.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's just going to cause more problems for that enemy team. So they have to address Pantheon, not
Yep.
Pantheon, J4, um,
Yep.
and they lose Dragon for it. So ooh, this is kind of scary because now they're pathing down.
Yeah. Which as they should be. So he's forcing them to back off the dragon because he sees them pathing down. Akshan, however, is still. I mean, you guys can take it. At this point, I would just fully commit.
Oh, she's dead.
Yep.
Nice.
I would have fully committed a little bit earlier,
Yep.
but it ended up working out. And now we're turning around.
If that tower's not dead, that's a sketchy ultimate going. But you're probably just using it at peak vision.
Yeah.
Oh, Diana's dead.
Oh wow, I can't believe Leona landed that.
That was long. All right, tower should be free. Just walk up at this point and hit it.
Yeah.
Not sure what Leona was aiming for right there, but that's okay.
I think it's just trying to take up space.
Mm.
Not let them know that they shouldn't walk up.
So
You know, they're
ultimate.
kind of flexing at that point.
That's interesting. I don't see a lot of people with Pantheon doing. That was interesting. I thought for a second he was going to use it to
I'm
retreat.
just gonna assume his finger slipped there. So that's I think it's interesting the idea that you are using his ultimate to gain vision because your
Mm,
screen is small, right? But I wouldn't I wouldn't hover over your ultimate like that.
because
You'll
you
use your
miss
mini
a
map.
bad spot. Yeah.
Use your mini map. Use your left thumb to just pan on the mini map.
I actually use my left index finger.
Whatever, yeah, to claw, yeah,
Yeah, to
whatever
claw it.
works. Like use your mini map. Don't use your alt to because then you run the risk of it slipping. I do it all the time. I have a bad habit of, especially with Nami, I'm like
Oh, yeah.
trying to anticipate something or I'm trying to see, okay, where can I throw this? And then all of a sudden I'm just using my alt for no reason.
Yeah, and the bad part is, yeah, like you said, and you're trying to cancel it, but you miss the cancel and you
You
just
miss
miss
the
it
cancel and
anyway.
then all of a sudden you alt, yeah.
Yep.
So Jarvan's taken inhib turret. Leona's helping secure scuttle here, so that's good rotations on both of their parts.
Yep.
For Pantheon and Leona, that you have second. Oh no, that's Baron.
Yep.
So the looks like the second rift timed out.
No, they used it mid lane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Oriana picked it up. Okay. One bad thing about popping the tower early, and it's not a bad thing. It is the fact that Diana now gets a free flow of minions just pushing into the base to catch back up. Um, I would abuse the crap out of her at this point.
Yeah, but the other thing about that too is like, yeah, she's free farming, but she's free farming to catch up. She's not free farming
Correct.
to push lanes. So she's busy up there trying to do her thing. And now the enemy team is they just out rotated Jarvan up there.
Maybe I should start going back and getting my trinket more because I usually just stay on sweeping lens the whole time because no one else does it.
Yeah, you definitely want as a jungler in solo queue, you should alternate. Don't rely on everyone else to ward. So like right here would have been a good instance to have a ward ready because you're down there in the dragon pit. You're down there by the
Mm,
dragon pit. It's about 10, 12 seconds away from spawning. You want to throw your ward down in there and um, and have that vision already, and then go back and get your super.
gotcha. Oh, yep. Oh, maybe it was a waste.
It was a little bit of waste, a little preemptive.
Now we show top, and if they were down bot side, we don't have a ward there on dragon immediately.
Yes. With that being said, though, he is grouped together. His team secured a kill. They're rotating, securing more kills.
Yep.
And then now, whether or not they're doing dragon, it doesn't really matter at this point because they can just turn around and kill them at the objective.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Or they can bum rush the objective.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's looking like a pretty solid game. Not a lot of mistakes, just a couple of probably mechanical errors as far as we could have smited and got that kill at the beginning. Um,
Yeah, and timing and a little bit of a little bit of patience with those mechanics. All right, so he went in because he's like, I got GA, I'm super strong.
Gotcha. We're gonna reset and go back by our Sterix gauge. I think it's a super strong item on Pantheon. In general, really in general, any of your AD bruisers.
Get his Merc treads there. The build path is pretty solid. I'm not 100% versed on jungle Pantheon builds, but I definitely think that it's worked out in his favor. that little jump there, that practice GA, I definitely would have been a little more patient with that one. Um,
Hey, bud.
you definitely want your GA procced in a fight, not necessarily when you're trying to go for a pick here.
Yep.
It's applying pressure to try to take turret.
Sorry, my son walked in the room.
Now it's bot lane's pushing in, so he's gonna go answer.
Yep. It might be too late. The turret might be gone already. Yep. Action saved it. Cool. If I was Action, I'd probably push out another wave.
Mm-hmm.
Something that a lot of people don't know is you can actually pre-edit what you want in your chat, in your controls, so you can have it
Yes.
say different things that you need. Like mine says focus objectives or
Yeah.
something. Dragon's coming or something.
That would definitely be definitely a helpful tip. So now we're kind of getting into this mid to late lull here. Everyone's just waiting for next objective. We're trying to push lanes,
Would
get
you
some
have went
picks
in there?
here.
Yep.
Yeah, he can go in there. Yeah, I think that was one of his better ults there. Being a little bit more patient, waiting for Jarvan to do his thing. There you go.
I think that's game.
Yep, that would be game. So overall, being a little more confident in your pathing, and then also uh, being more aware of the little details like swapping out your trinket for a ward whenever it's ready, um, being a little more cognizant of where you're at on the map versus what objective you want, and also what objective is up. Um, and then I think like most solo queue junglers, um, he didn't really gank bot lane a whole lot. Um, luckily, Leona is a utility tank, so you don't really need her to be. When you have a Pantheon and a Jarvan, all you really need Leona for is to land her ultimate and land her other stuns. Akshan wasn't. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't dealing too much damage that game. But in the future, uh, I definitely would have put a little bit more pressure on their bot lane so that you could snowball a little bit quicker. Some of those fights where the bot lane was lost was because Leona into Morgana. Morgana can deny her from one of those stuns, and Kaisa in general is just a stronger champion than Akshan, and it looks like Kaisa was able to gain the gold that she needed and do that. So you definitely want to deny that. When you're ganking lanes, you do. He is playing selfishly, which I would encourage for him to continue to do that. But if you shut down a bottom lane, then that's two people that are gaining gold and are getting fed versus one person. So that's just something to keep in mind moving forward.
See,
But overall,
that's actually what I was going to ask you because I hardly ever gank bot lane just because I feel like there's, especially in solo queue, there's so much extra that could go wrong because you're playing three people versus two people. Um,
I think that's where the patience comes in. Uh, being patient and then being aware of what's going on with those lanes. Um, I wouldn't expect a platinum jungler to be like, oh, okay, it's Akshan Leona versus Kaisa Morgana. Um, I think the Kaisa has the upper hand and the Morgana has the upper hand in that situation. So maybe I should gank that lane a little bit more. But I think no offense, but the real victory here was the fact that the Diana was AFK for that first part of the match. I think Jarvan still would have won that matchup.
Hmm.
I think that Jarvan still, by the way he was playing and the way he was moving, definitely would have helped Pantheon not have to worry about that top lane.
Yeah.
But um, the dragons win game. Like having the first two dragons or having the first dragon over uh, the Rift Herald in certain situations, I think right now the meta favors you in having those dragons. So being able to camp that bot lane and shut down one of the carries and the support um, can benefit you in situations. But I also understand that what your point is that there's a lot of variables that are involved there. So it takes a little bit more finessing to
Yep.
figure out when they can gank and when they can shut those carries and the support down.
Yeah, luckily, like you said, they're playing Leona, so it's very aggressive. Chances are, it's you're gonna get a kill if you do gank that lane.
Yeah.
Um, However, I always want to limit what variables you can affect in the game because there's not many that you can affect solo, but
Yes.
that's different play styles, different people, and everybody has their
Hmm.
own. Something that I told someone else is there's a lot of wrong ways to play League of Legends, but there's no one right way. So, uh,
Yes.
with that being said, I guess we'll probably end the VOD there, or the video there, whatever you want to call it. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps us out, really helps us stay motivated. Thank you to Bonsai for coming on. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
it.
Anytime.
Um, all right, and we'll see you guys on the